So I got a problem, and my problem is I can't stop drinking and doing drugs. Worst case, I can't. Even worse, I can't stay stopped. So I might be able to stop for a day, a week, a month, a couple minutes, and that probably that period of time is getting less and less and less. No matter what it is, it doesn't matter so much the amount; it's the matter I can't stop. Another problem is I can't do this anymore without having consequences. I break out, and so if I have this allergy to drugs and alcohol, what do I break out in? Arrests, DUIs, felonies, hurt family, causing problems, all kinds of stuff. So what can I do about it? Anything I've tried doesn't work, and let's face it, I've tried, everything. I'm kind of an all or nothing person. So, I'm just going to stop. And the next thing you know, here I am again, and I don't have a reason for why I do it. At least I didn't until I understood my problem. My problem being my glass is always full. Stayed full, kept getting more full, and it was just holding on for dear life. And once it got so full, I had no choice in the matter whether or not I could drink or do drugs, especially in safety. So how can I empty this thing out? It's like a Dairy Queen Blizzard. Just, it won't come out. So, they talk about surrender. What do I have to surrender to, I ask. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I'm a little bit of a smart aleck. The first thing I surrendered to, obviously, was I needed a program. I needed a fellowship. I needed people to hang out with that were trying to do the same things as me. I'm going to be kind of general about that right now. But I found that, I needed to be somewhere safe. I went 2 or 3 times a day to this safe place. I went different places where people were doing the same thing. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I like different drugs and different bars and different hangouts, and so that's what I did. I didn't change myself too awful much, other than my motivation and my intention. That was important. So something inside of me, that was one little change. But what am I surrendering to? So I went to this fellowship, and I surrendered to hanging out with these people, and I was scared because, oh my goodness, these are the old guys that wear these suit and ties, and they probably need to go get drunk or high because they're so old and crabby. And that wasn't the case. I remember seeing 2 old cats, man, in the corner one time in the middle of a meeting, and it's like, okay, they're sitting there just yapping, and I got to stay sober. They're really trying hard. It's terrible. I'm not having any fun at all. And I'm about ready to go over there, slap them, and hand them attention, just like, back in school. And I just thought, these are the 2 kids, probably in the back of the class, little smart Alex, little smart asses. Let's be honest about it. Next thing you know, I realized, hey, this guy's got 30 years, this other guy's got 40 years. That's what I want to be like if I can get to that point, And it just dawned on me. I knew at this point I was going to have to surrender to something else, and that was probably getting a sponsor in these programs. They suggested that. Some people don't. Good luck. If you're able to do this and change your life completely, my hat's off to you. I have a series of sponsors, and we'll get to that a little bit later. That might be another video, actually. But what am I surrendering to? So I go to this fellowship. I'm looking to get a sponsor. I know I have to get one. They have literature. For me, it was the book Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. This is the other thing I started surrendering to, was getting up every morning and reading it. Now, I wanted to stay sober. And the whole time I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that little voice is just loud as can be. You need to go out and use. At that point, it was probably anywhere between 75 and 90% of my brain's capacity. Was like, dude, what are you doing? You're not waking up and getting high anymore. What's wrong? Let's get out there and do this. This is what you're used to doing. Okay. I had this 10% of me, little bit, maybe not even that. I'm using that. This little bitty part of me that wanted to stay sober. When I got a book and opened it up, give my hands something to do. I'm not packing this or hitting the head or doing any of this stuff. And then it kept my mind occupied, which is probably more important than anything for me. So I'm reading this stuff and it just doesn't make sense. I'm reading it, I'm rereading it. I remember I'm over here, I'm over there reading it. So what have I done? I started trying to do. I'm going to these meetings and fellowshipping. I'm hanging out with different people. I surrendered to. I need to get a sponsor. I surrendered to reading their literature. Okay, but what else? It says in step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What does that mean to me? Power greater than ourselves. When I ask people this, I do it all the time to trick them. What is a power greater than yourself? The first thing I say is God. And all these people are not religious. Why would you say God? Why? So, good answer though. We're going to back it up a little bit because I wasn't ready to hear this God stuff. I didn't want to hear this God stuff. Not just because I was playing God. Yeah, that was it. But more importantly, man, if there is a God, He doesn't want to hear from me right now, and that's really how I felt. I really felt, a lot of guilt, shame, and remorse, as many of us do. I've read that somewhere, and so what else am I surrendering to? So I'm going to surrender to going to the fellowship, reading the big book, or the literature, wherever it is, getting a sponsor, which I did. Ended up those 2 guys in the corner, both are my sponsors. I ran them both out of town because I talked how much fun I was having. Not really, but things happened. At least they're still alive. That's a great and wonderful thing. And some of my 2 best friends to this day. So what else? There's these 12 steps. I knew at the time I was facing a little bit of time in jail that I wasn't able to do drugs anymore, at least not in there. It's not like the old days where you get drugs in jail maybe, and if I couldn't afford it. So I just knew it was over. I needed to change though, because here I was. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I am a drug addict. I know this is my business. I know how to do drugs. I know how to drink. I know how to fuck my life up completely. That's what I knew how to do. What I didn't know how to do was how to stay sober, and more importantly, how to enjoy it. Be careful if you see somebody that's been in a while and just not enjoying it, constantly having problems. I'm not saying there's not legitimate issues going on at times. There's a difference, but just constantly problem. And they've been sober for a couple years, a couple decades, whatever. Stay away from them. They don't have what you want. It's people that are happy, joyous, and free. So, I got this sponsor. I said to myself, I'm going to work these steps. That was what it was. If I do these things, if I get a sponsor, if I read the literature, if I go to meetings, and if I work these steps, what's going to happen is my life is going to change. And I came to believe that I would be turned to sanity. And what sanity means to me is normal. Now, if you've had a counselor in any type of therapy that has any type of psychological background as far as school goes, probably going to say, well, what is normal? Hold on a second. Here's a dictionary. Get it. Look up the definition of the word normal. For me, it's regular or regular. Good enough for me. I just want to be regular. I don't want to be insane in my head. I want to be the way I perceive everybody else in the world to be, and that's happy, joyous, and free, because I wasn't. That's what normal means to me. And even now, sanity is in that term means a lot more. There's 5 levels of sobriety or sanity to me. And I stole this from Mark Divine in his book, The Way of the Seal. He talks about 5 mountains. There's physical, there's mental, there's emotional, there's intuitional, and spiritual. And all of these are for the 5 levels, what I call 5 levels of sobriety. And I love newcomers that come in and I say to, well, I'm sober, Of course, chances are if you're on drugs, you still got them in your system. Especially if you ever smoke pot. It's still in your system, 30, 60. I know a guy had it still in his system. He was still testing positive 6 months later. And this is truthful. This is under a doctor's care. And so for me, it's not that I am sober. I am still getting sober. I'm not sober enough. I'll still tell you this. My sobriety date is 7/15/2011, and I'm still not sober enough. I work on it. So in short, what it is the fellowship and a program of action. Those are the two. That's a power greater than myself. This God stuff, that's step 3. Don't get ahead of yourself. Most people don't even know how to tune into God yet, let alone don't even want to hear about God, other than God's the easier, softer way. I'm going to let you on a little secret, whether you're religious or not. The Bible talks in Adam and Eve, okay? So Adam and Eve, who cares what happened, but they did. They ate the apple, and they got kicked out of the garden. So guess what? Life ain't going to be pretty no more. We're going to have to work. It says we're going to have to work for it. Plain and simple. So whether you take this literally, whether it's just a good lesson to learn here, guess what? If you're going to talk about God kicked us out of the garden because we didn't want the easier, softer way. So now I got to do something about it. That's what step 2 is. I'm looking for a solution. And what's the solution? Pretty simple. Get a sponsor, go to meetings, read the book, do the steps. Do 1 through 9 to the best of your ability, 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. And maybe something will change. So that, my goodness, man, every day we won't think about, I need this to feel better. I've went through crap. I'm going to tell you this real fast. One day, I'm off to jail, so I still had to serve 3 months. My son's mom had just passed away the day before. And I wasn't going to see my son for 3 months, so I'm going to jail. So what happened is, I called some friends. That's really about all I did. I didn't go to meetings. I was heading off, and I just talked to people, but I felt just calm. I did some praying, and let me say this. I didn't have to drink or do drugs. I didn't really want to, I made it through that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll just say this. Sometimes that big stuff's easy to get through. You don't want it to come, believe me, but it's easier to get through. It's the little things that's going to get to me. It's the persevering on a daily basis. But that's what step 2 is to me. It's the beginning of the solution. It's the beginning of action. If I don't have these things in my life and I'm not surrendered, then half measures will avail me nothing. So thank you.